be able to access this. Okay, so I have had so many people ask for Jim Tracy to come on here and talk. We have so many of you in Canada, and so we are answering your prayers tonight. And I know that you came with questions, and I know that Jim came ready to answer all your questions, and also with a little bit to chat with you guys about. Obviously, Marcus said it, we have such huge goals on where we're headed in the next couple of years. And the opportunity to be able to grow in so many different countries is one that we should all be taking advantage of. That's huge. There are so many companies that aren't able to do what we're doing. And not only are we expanding, but we're opening warehouses. And if you were at convention last year, you saw the map. It's so calculated what they're doing for us. So I'm so stoked to have Jim here to hear what he has to say, and so that we can all just take what he's teaching us and go out and expand. So this is Jim. He is our VP of International Development. I literally called them today and I was like, how do I edify Jim? What we didn't know, guys, is that he was the Energizer bunny at Energizer. I'm kidding.
Not really.
He did work at Energizer though. And he worked in product development and international development, correct?
Yep.
Perfect. I got it. And he's been with Q for 2.5 years. He actually coaches Jake's kids' football team. So they're really close. So make sure you nuzzle up to him at convention and ask him all your big questions. All right, Jim, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to you.
Awesome. You know, the funny thing about that is, so at football, I'm actually the head coach and Jake is one of my assistants. And so roles reverse a little bit at the office, but it's a good time. Anyway, so happy to be able to join you and your team tonight and talk a little bit about what we've got going on internationally with Q. We've talked a little bit about it. Well, we've talked quite a bit about it actually over the past conventions, but I know some of you haven't been around that long, and so we'll talk a little bit about what it is that we have going on. So as a company, you know, we understand that, you know, we have our business pretty well established in the United States. And if we're going to really blow the doors off of this thing and really make our mark, it's going to have to be with our international markets. You know, right now we're looking at about, I would say 70% of the company's income comes from the United States, and about 30% is looking at coming in from our international markets. We want to flip the script on that. And I believe over the next couple of years, it's when we'll be doing that, where we'll be pulling in 70 or more % of our revenues from our international markets outside of the US. And, you know, obviously the US would then take the 30% side of things. That's really what our goal and our dream is for this company, because you know, we have started to invest the resources that it takes to be able to do that. Just like Alexia was saying, we have built warehouses. We have warehouses in Europe, in Australia. We have one that just opened in Japan, one in Malaysia, Mexico. So what we've started to do is we started to strategically place these warehouses around the world so we can distribute to different markets and different regions of the globe with those warehouses. And as we start moving forward, you know, we're going to start opening up countries, more and more countries around these regions. I'm not sure if you've seen recently, you'll see a couple of like these little short, maybe reels or little commercials that we've been running about a new country that we are opening. We'll be talking about it at convention, but we're going to be opening Lithuania, which is part of the EU. So it makes it something that is easier for us to be able to open. Because we have that warehouse inside the EU, it's located in Amsterdam. Because we have that warehouse located in the EU, we're able to distribute to those EU countries very easily. And it makes it so much easier for us to open those countries, to ship within them, to take care of the taxes and the customs and all those fun things that we get to take care of when we're looking at shipping from one country to another. It makes it very easy for that. So we should look forward to, over the next couple of years, more of those EU countries opening. Right now we're open in 26 countries. After the start of next month, it'll be 27. And then of course in Asia, a little later this year, we'll be opening, it's not really any secret, but we'll be opening in South Korea as well. So we have an eye toward international expansion. And of course, with international expansion, it doesn't come easy. And sometimes there's an element of pioneering that comes into it. There are systems that don't work the same in other countries that they do as they do in the US. And so as we're shipping stuff to Canada, sometimes we'll experience some, maybe a customs hiccup here and there. We've actually got a company that really, as a shipping vendor, takes pretty good care of us with Canada. It actually goes pretty smoothly. But if you've heard or been able to attend any of our meetings that we've had up in Canada over recent months, we've talked a little bit about how we've started the process of registering our products with Health Canada. And so we're in the middle of that. I know I was just talking with a guy that takes care of all of those clearances, and he was asking me for some information to pass back to, because we're right in the middle of all this information being passed back and forth between us and Health Canada. So that'll be something that'll be really exciting, is once we get those in hand. There's been a lot of talk about a Canadian warehouse on the horizon. When we get that taken care of, that's really what opens, those registrations really open up the doors for us there. So look for something like that coming on to the scope for this coming year. Over the last year, Canada has experienced a substantial amount of growth. We've got some hot spots right now over in like the BC area, straight up above us in Alberta, and then over in the Quebec area. Those are kind of our three hot spots right now that we've been able to really see some significant growth. We've been talking with some people just recently that I think are going to be able to help our company grow in a couple of additional areas. So we're really excited for some of the growth that is still to come with Canada. Couple things that we have. So let's talk about some exciting things that we have coming to Canada as a market, right? So you'll probably hear we're like a week away from like the start of all the convention stuff. So you'll hear next week about a bunch of this stuff, but I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler. As long as you promise that if you're coming to convention, you're still coming. And if you're tuning in, you'll be tuning in still. So I'll spill the beans on some stuff, but you still gotta watch, okay? So Canadian dollars, we're going to be talking about this. Actually, you're going to be getting an email tomorrow about this. Canadian dollars, we're going to start transacting on February 1st is when we're going to move to it, okay? So exciting times, right? You'll see all of your products listed in Canadian dollars. Now, with that, we learned this in Australia, okay? There's going to be a little bit of sticker shock. Be prepared for that. So I see that you're like, oh, exciting. It is exciting, but just know when you go from like our base of $1, and then the Canadian dollar is $1.30 something more. It's like a 1.34, whatever it is, right? That number is going to be a little bit alarming, because right now the problem is you'll place an order, and if it's $100 US, it's going to show up as $135 when your credit card, your bank statement shows up, right? So it'll take away that surprise, but the surprise is going to come when you open up your back office and you're going to see that these products are listed at what looks like a higher price, because we're going to include the tax in that price as well. Okay, so it's going to seem higher, but it's going to be what you're more accustomed to. Okay, so yes, you can absolutely give your customers a heads up. We're sending out this communication. It'll go out to the entire market, so both ambassadors and customers tomorrow. It'll talk a little bit about it. And so what will happen, and the way that this works, is we set basically a peg rate is what it's called, okay? And so the peg rate is going to actually show, it will be an amount that we will, I guess, translate the dollars into Canadian dollars at that rate for a set amount of time, okay? It looks like we're going to work on probably a quarterly basis for this. And so quarterly, you'll end up having a little bit of fluctuation in pricing. But that's just to make sure that we're keeping, we're able to basically keep you on a similar cost scale as the US, if that makes any sense. So we want to keep those products similar costs as what we experience in the US with you. Let's see. So you will see that on February 1st, and that will, and you'll also see, so not that Friday, that coming Friday, you'll still get paid in US dollars, but the Friday after that is when you'll start to actually receive your commissions in Canadian dollars. Okay. So just know I'd have to look at my calendar here to see which date that is. That's going to be the 10th. Okay, so the 3rd would still be paid in US dollars. The 10th would be paid in Canadian dollars when we'll do that. Anyways, so and with the taxes and all of that kind of stuff, essentially that's run through, it's a huge company called Avalar is what their name is. They apply tax rates for like e-com companies. So we run it all through them. They're the ones who take care of that, of calculating all of that for us. Let's see, other exciting things. So this one hasn't really been talked about, but I want you to be prepared for April. April is going to be a big month in Canada, because we're going to, let's just say we're going to have probably some type of like leadership retreat that you might be able to look forward to and try to qualify for. And we'll probably have a location for that on Convention Friday. Maybe later that month, you'd be looking at a tour from our corporate staff showing up in Canada in a few places, something like that. I think April's going to be a really big month for you guys. Then June, maybe late June, we'll say, something big might happen then. I think Jake has alluded to something happening big then. Big event. We'll just leave it at that. Anyways, big stuff coming for Canada. So we're really excited. And then also, I know there's been a lot of talk. Let's talk about Bliss, because a lot of people have talked about that because we launched it in Australia, and it's, because it's a similar kind of like I would guess you could refer to it as maybe a substitute product for hemp, like our hemp products, right? Because it's something similar to that, it could be something that really bolsters our Canadian market. What our plan is for that is we're going to do a similar run up as what we did in Australia. We're going to send out test shipment, or we're going to send out shipments to people. So they'll receive a bottle, and then they'll have some time to build these testimonials for them. We'll get some VIP sites where we're pushing out all of the information on the launch about the product, where we can start really dripping this information to make our launch have the biggest impact possible. Now, that takes a little bit of time to be able to do that, but I promise you, if we follow that same type of launch pattern that we did when we launched in Australia, the payoff is huge. They blew it out of the water with this. And so we want to be able to have the same type of impact with this product for each of your businesses as they had down there. So it's going to be something we're looking, it's still going to be a few months. I was going to say, I don't want to put a date on it, but it's going to be a few months before we launch that, because we want to make sure to do it right. And one of the other reasons is because this month, next week, I guess, we're going to be launching some additional products. We're launching a whole nother vertical for our company. And this vertical is going to be available in Canada. So we want to make sure that we give it time to mature and to take hold, and for everybody in the market to run with that new vertical before we just throw in another product launch. We don't want to kind of cannibalize the effect that launching a full new vertical as well as a very significant product to this market. We don't want those two to cannibalize each other. We want to make sure it has the most significant impact that it can on your businesses. I'm going to take a drink really quick. Lots of talking. So those are just a few things that we have coming up for your market specifically. That's, Alexi, you nailed it right on the head right there. Planned momentum. And that's really what we're trying to do here, is we have these things like when I was talking about April, and I'll talk about this at convention as well, but where we've got April as, we're going to have a leadership retreat, and then we're going to follow that up. We'll give a few weeks for people to kind of build excitement for this tour that we'll host. And after that tour, we'll have a larger group of people who are excited about the business, starting to run with the business, and we'll give them a couple of months to run up to maybe a larger event, just like what we did down in Australia, because we have a convention coming up in a month down there. Spoiler alert. Anyway, so we're so excited about, just about some of the things that we have coming out for this market. I do want to talk a little bit, Alexi had mentioned that some of you are interested in expanding to other countries around the world and kind of what it is that we have going on there. Maybe where I would target, if I were building this business and I had contacts globally, where would I look, right? Well, one thing we've just done with the Australian market is we've just actually switched warehouses to be able to service their product and shipping needs better. If you have contacts down there, the products are there, the shipping is just about to go insane with them. Like, I would definitely look there as one of our easier markets to build in. Where you may see some, as far as like another easy market that really is, Canada is one of our easier markets as well. It's internationally speaking, because we have the resources there. And we've got, we're about to have all of the payments stuff in line right there now. So we're going to have that for you. That's going to be one of our easier markets as well. If we're looking at maybe somewhere that might be a little bit more difficult, a couple of our European countries are a little bit more difficult. And the reason they are, and this is just us being fully transparent, is sometimes it's a little bit harder for payment systems in Europe. It can be very difficult. So what we've been doing is we've been working tirelessly at corporate to be able to bring additional payment systems, especially to our European market, because once we get that in line, we have the warehouse there. We'll be able to switch over to euros. We can apply better options for them to pay for their products. As soon as we do that, that's really going to blow the doors off in Europe specifically. So I think that's just a couple of months away when we'll have all of that in line and look for some significant growth over there. I'm trying to see if in my notes I have anything else. I don't know that I have anything else really, other than just to say, if you're able to get down here to convention next week, there really is no better way to grow your business. And if you can't make it, make sure that you tune in, because you're going to get additional tools at convention. You're going to see some amazing things launched. There's going to be, you've probably seen the reels running around on Instagram or Facebook about enhancements to our compensation plan. They are significant, to say the least. Really targeting in on the new person in this business and catered around what is going on in our economy, our global economy these days. It's not just the US or the Canada economy. Globally, there are some things that are happening that we're trying to put in place, some things with our compensation plan to really help people with what it is that's significant to them and to families just trying really to survive and to be able to battle the constant inflation that we're seeing, those types of things. We have some stuff in place, and you're going to see something awesome when Jake announces it next Friday. It's going to be very impactful for your businesses. So tune in to convention, learn about the new products, the new vertical that we're going to be launching. There is just a wealth of information that is going to be coming out at that time. You don't want to miss it, because if you do, you won't be as well equipped with the tools that you need to be able to grow your business at Q. So hopefully you're all tuned in. And then, of course, I've got a feeling that in the next few months, you'll probably be seeing a lot of me in your market. So I can't wait to get back up there with you guys. I love touring across Canada. I got a chance to do it a couple of times last year. Looking forward to doing it a couple of times again this year.
Thank you so much. Can you take like 2 or 3 questions before you jump off? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
I'm so sure. Yes.
Okay. Because I know Laura Corellis is on here and she had sent me 2 questions, but before she asked, I had one. Because England isn't in the EU, how does that affect shipping and shipping prices over there? Because my husband is British, we live there. It's a market I'd like to go to, but I feel like I don't have enough.
Great questions. Yes. So because the UK and Norway, so they're very similar because they're both not part of the EU. So that does affect actually where we ship their product from. Both of those countries, we ship and we service all their shipping out of the US right now. And so we send all their product from the US because there are a few tax issues that we are working through. They like to, I don't know, it's like the EU's trying to stick it to the UK and UK is trying to stick to the EU all the time. It's just like they like to butt heads, right?
Yeah.
It's just like a thing. I mean, they've been doing it for thousands of years, so why not keep doing it, huh? But so they're really trying to, we're working through a few tax things so we can start to service them out of the EU warehouse. But right now we do it out of the US warehouse. But shipping time, again, we actually have the same company that handles our shipping to Canada, handling it for the UK. And shipping time's actually pretty good over there. You're looking at about, on average, 8 days shipping time is about average there. And Norway would be on a similar schedule. We do the same type of thing. We ship that out of the US there too.
Perfect. Does anybody else want to ask a question before we let him go? I just want to be sensitive to his time.
Shelby.
Hi. I'm always the one with questions.
Yeah.
So I have several people in Australia that are like in my funnel that I've been talking to. And I feel like a lot of them are with like Monet, because I feel like Monet is the other big one over there in Australia. What tips or advice or I guess draws could you offer when reaching out to those people that's like gonna like really pique their interest, other than like the normal average, like you know what I mean?
Yeah. So with that market, those are great questions, because the Australian market, or I guess within our industry in Australia and New Zealand, there have been some significant shifts. A lot of companies have been going out of business, just jumping ship in that market. They're just leaving, right? And so one thing is that we have been very strong. Like, we have expended extensive resources into that market. And so a couple of things that make us, obviously, as many of you know, our compensation plan makes us unique, right? Now, we also have some phenomenal leaders over there. So as we bring people into the company, even if we're not financially tied, we definitely loop them in with these leaders over there and get them, because they understand how to grow the business in their market. And so we want to loop them into those groups and to make sure that they're getting the training and the knowledge of how to really build that market as well. Product wise, there are a lot of similarities, like cross product wise between us and the other company, right? So you'll see that we offer similar product lines. Again, it comes down to the similarities. Like, that same company has a decent business in Canada. So really you would find the same similarities and the same dissimilarities between us in Canada as you would in Australia. So any type of strategy that you're using in talking with people, or information that you're using in Canada, the same should be true in Australia as well. We have really weathered this kind of some of those storms down in Australia, and have a very strong business right now. And basically, with all of the movement within the industry right now, there's two companies that are very, very strong down there that are, I think, set up best to really continue going and continue growing in the Australia, New Zealand market. I'll tell you, we're one of them. I'm not going to mention the other, but we are definitely one of those two. And really inside the industry, and with those that are knowledgeable about the industry as a whole down there, they have the same feelings. It's us and one other company, and really those are the two that are probably the biggest survivors in that market right now.
Does the other company have a warehouse there like we do?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yep.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all this amazing knowledge and insight. It feels like we got a little pre-convention, so that was awesome. I'm in Canada, and I've had so many people ask, approximately how many ambassadors are there in Canada? And it's a question that has come up so many times. And even if there was like a, approximate that you could offer, I'm not sure if you can, that would be really helpful.
Yeah. So now that's a little bit of a difficult question to answer, simply because a couple of ways to look at it, right? You could look at ambassadors that have ever registered, signed up and enrolled, but active, active who order monthly, we have several like a few thousand that we're looking at every single month they're ordering. So I would say in a few thousand, but we also have customers as well. And so the nice thing about that is we're not oversaturated. There really is an extensive amount of growth still able to happen in that market. Like right now, we've just barely, like, we're just at the tip of the iceberg right now, right? There's so much more below the surface that we haven't even touched up there that is coming. And I believe there is so much growth potential in the market right now that, you know, it's a phenomenal time to be getting started, because we've weathered a lot of the storm and we've got all these resources that are coming into place in Canada right now. Like it really is a market that, like, someone could come in and just take it up, just like Alexi's saying, like, it's there for someone to take. And all of you, like, you know what, something we talk about with some of our markets, it's like there's a little bit of pioneering mentality that comes with early market growth. And so where we've only got a few thousand people up there right now that are actively working the business, there is, like, as you weather through some of these early difficulties, like with, you know, payment systems or shipping or anything like that, the hard part's like basically gone at this point. So now those who have gone through all of that tough part, like the pioneers, they're the ones who ultimately end up with the land. And I think that's really where we are right now, where that's going to start paying off, because it's going to be so much easier for people to join, order, all the stuff. It's going to be something that's going to lend to this market exploding in growth.
Awesome. I'm excited. I think that a lot of people on this call are really excited. This is what so many people needed. You nailed it on the head. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
There was one question in the chat that I want to ask, because it is from Christy, and I think it's a really great question. I had an ambassador potential in Germany who didn't sign on because she was on an army base and didn't know if she should be a US ambassador or a German one. She was worried about taxes and customs. How should an American living on a military base go about signing up?
Yeah, so with that, each individual, like, depending on if they're living on the base, then basically what you're looking at is they can sign up and get shipping through like an APO or FPO address. It's essentially like they would sign up as a US ambassador, and then the shipping goes through the US system, and then the US handles delivery actually over there, which would basically put them as a US ambassador. So in situations like that, we suggest they sign up as a US ambassador, even though they're technically located within the borders of, say, Germany or in other countries. But because they're on a military base, product delivery, and ultimately it comes down to product delivery as far as like where someone's shows up as a business person for us, that's where I would suggest doing it. A US ambassador.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. And I know that everyone else did too. I love all the little tidbits we got. Thank you. And I will see all of you guys in the chats and later this week. Bye, Jim. Thank you so much.
Just really quickly, if you do show up next week, if you're able to come to convention, make sure to say hi. Because
I sent him a picture of me and him from last convention.
I know.
I'm like, I know you don't remember me, but I remember you.
Yes, make sure to say hi, because and believe, and same thing when we come up and do our tours, like, let's talk. Let's, you know, we want to make sure that we have this proximity with our field, as you know, as corporate leadership and corporate staff. You know, myself, Chaz, we need to make sure that we have this proximity with you and that we're working closely with you. If you have any needs, don't feel afraid to contact us and utilize us when we need to be able to, if you have meetings that you want us to show it, just like Alexi did tonight, don't be afraid to ask for that. We'll come in, we'll do trainings, we can talk about questions that people have. That's what we're here for. That's what we love doing. So we want to do whatever it takes to be able to help you grow your businesses and grow these markets.
Yes, I love that. When we talk about proximity at Q Sciences, it's not just people in Equity Council, it's everybody. And that's why we have amazing corporate staff who are willing to come on when they're not even at work, at his house, take his time in his evening to come and jump on a call and chat with us. It means so much more than you can understand. And if you have been in this industry before, then you know the value of having corporate staff available to do calls like this and to answer your questions and to be one-on-one. And my best advice to you is if you are going to be at convention, please take the time to network and meet as many corporate staff as you can. It's one of the best ways to really get involved in being able to have these calls and being able to talk to them one-on-one. Just don't be afraid to network. They want to meet you. They want to meet all the people in Canada. It's a big deal that you're even coming out. So thank you. I love you all. Thanks, Jim. Bye, guys.
Bye.